even with music, like certain music, like I can't listen to microtonal jazz. It drives me crazy. But like, I'm sorry, it does. But like, because Ornette Coleman, like I went into this deep dive about Ornette Coleman, and he's like, well, ultimately, when you're like the free musician, you just play whatever you want. And I'm like, but like, no, right? Like, you need some kind of structure to make you comfortable, right?
Well,
like,
at that point, is it for the player or the listener? Like, well, who are you making the music for? If you're creating art for yourself, that's great, and that's okay. But it's really like, what is your purpose?
who do you make music for?
Other people.
So you're here to serve.
Yeah.
That's what Jem said the other day. She said, I know when I fuck with someone, when they understand the process of this world, it's like, we're here to serve.
Well, I don't know what we're here for.
Right.
But the way that I see it best executed and the way that it makes me feel best is when I think less about myself and more about others. And that's just what I've learned up to this point. That's what I was taught. And the way that, I'm 36 years old, and the way that I've best experienced life up to this point is when I'm egoless, kind of a vessel, and just attempting to uplift others as best I possibly can. And it's not like this like cliche, I'm selfless thing. It's like, that's sincerely like the happiest I am if I'm not.
But it took you a minute to get there. Because like you say the word humble a lot, and I feel that a lot from your energy. But I also feel like at some points, like you have to fight, like figure out your ego, like sort your ego.
Yeah, totally. Because it takes an amount of ego to like stand in front of people and demand their attention.
Right.
Or not even demand it, but attempt to beckon it, right? Like if you're going to stand in front of an audience of people, and it takes an amount of ego to go, look here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. It's a tug of war with your ego. But the best possible experience that I've ever had is when I'm void of that ego, and I'm well rehearsed or well practiced or well disciplined, however you want to.
Yeah.
You're prepared. You're pumped.
And I'm not thinking steps ahead. I'm just there. I'm just in the moment.
Mindfulness.
Yeah. And so back to your point, like, free musicians, it's really just about what's your goal? What's your purpose in the creation of art? Because there's no wrong way to do it. It's like the art gets created regardless.
Right.
And once it's out, it's not the artists anymore anyhow, whether they made it for themselves or whether they didn't. If they took it out of their bedroom, it's everybody else's.
Livingston Taylor, James Taylor's brother, he's an amazing musician, and he's a professor at Berkeley. And he would like commute on the train to do this seminar like once a month at Berkeley. And it was all about how nerves are selfish. He was like,
oh, interesting.
He was kind of like, well, you, like the audience doesn't need you. You need them. Like when you go on stage, even just saying your name, he had everybody go up on stage and just introduce themselves, and they'd be like, hi, I'm Gemini. And he'd be like, are you asking me? Why is there a question mark at the end of that?
The inflection of the actual
The inflection. Hi, I'm Gemini. Like conviction.
Yes, you are.
Right. So he literally would have us just walk around in circles introducing ourselves. And then he goes to sing, and he's like, a certain level of nerves are invited and they're welcome, because that is the pocket of your ego that's still keeping yourself in check. Like the part of yourself that's having that conversation with yourself. The moment that you go on stage and you don't feel any fear, and you feel like, oh, these people are here for me, you're done.
Yeah.
Game over. He really opened my mind to like, but keep it in check because you need them.
Yeah.
It's like that whole thing. And then a can of weed fell out of his coat, and it was like the most amazing thing in the world. Okay. So one time you talked about that you were trying to find other ways to make music, or that I guess you were like trying to find different ways to create or
Yeah.
make music.
Mm-hmm.
My question, when you are starting to write a song,
Yeah.
is it always, all right, got my guitar, I got these chords, whatever, or are you sleeping and you wake up and all of a sudden you have a melody in your head? Or is it different? Like, what is your songwriting process? Because the song structure of your songs is delicious, but it's also like really fresh and playful. So like, I'm very curious what way you approach writing music.
It's the way I write music the best is I schedule co-write, and it keeps me honest. I'm like very much so like socially aware, and I think gain a lot of personal acceptance off of what others think of me, like in relationship. And so, if I have a songwriting session booked, I'm going to show up on time, and we're going to get a song.
Discipline.
And it's harder for me to do that by myself. By myself, like I can waste my own time like nobody's business. So
Yeah.
I feel you
feel
so
you.
hard.
it's yeah. And so I'm very lucky enough that there's enough human beings who are willing to write songs with me that I can schedule. Like in January, I did a full month in LA and had a songwriting session every day and
Wow.
got 35 songs.
Wow.
And so once I get there, then the process, there is no like,
Do you start lyrics or melody first?
what's weird about co-writing is it's like kind of like speed dating a little bit
Cool.
because I'm really versed in speed dating, by the way.
I was gonna say.
Really not. It seems like that's what it would be like. You like get, you show up to typically somebody's house because they have a studio at their house.
Right.
You come into their space.
Wild.
You have just met this person, you sit down, you both want the same thing. You both want a song. And so naturally that like social inertia is happening. And then you just talk, and like I love people and I love being social. And so that's typically very easy and exciting for me. And then you start to go down a path of like what's been happening in your life, or what are you thinking
Right.
about, or what's going on, and then you just pluck out some chordal ideas. My favorite conception of a writing room is a top line melody lyricist person,
Hook writer.
a producer, and then myself. And so when we're all kind of figuring out the structure of the song, typically the producer can be putting together the mood and the beat and the groove while we're working on lyrics and top line, and it all kind of formulates together, but hopefully by 9 p.m. we have a full song.
Something. Oh.
What time do you start?
It's typically like noon.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, deadlines are very helpful for me because if it's open ended, it's like, wow,
I like schedule.
there's
too,
no
yeah.
structure. So that's seemingly how I've done it best towards like actually getting things done. I've written really great songs by myself. They seem to be a bit more personal. Which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, right? Like, because a lot of times my songs, if I'm to critique my music, and I think the reason why if people know me, it's in the music world, like musicians, I overcomplicate music, which kind of, if I would imagine, are you both fluent in Spanish?
Yeah,
we
Okay.
both are.
I'm not at all, right? So if we come into a room and you guys just start throwing Spanish at me, I'm like, cool, I'm going to tune out.
Right. Like I can't.
That's what happens in music. Is like music has been dumbed down
It has.
for centuries. And
Yes.
that's why when you turn on Top 40 radio and Ed Sheeran, one of the most capable musicians alive, is singing
He can play his ass off. It's true.
Yeah. Yes.
the same thing.
Yeah.
It's because he plays to stadiums.
Yeah.
And his audience base.
Yeah, but I can't do it.
That's okay. It's not for you.
Yeah, you don't have to.
It's not for you. But like
There's an audience for you. This is proof.
I want to be Ed Sheeran. Like I want to play my music in front of as many people as possible. I want to.
But you think that's his real music? What is he really
I don't know.
like?
I don't know. I don't know Ed. But I know that Ed is like a very capable musician. Yeah. Great player, great writer.
Probably a fan of yours.
And he and that's the music that lives on the radio, that he's able to like put on the radio, which allows him to play stadiums. And as a musician, I listen to that music and I'm just like you. I'm like, that's not for me. I'm not going to go and I'm not going to turn that on at my house in the morning.
Yeah, no.
But I understand its purpose.
Right.
So the thing that co-writing potentially, what I'm hoping it will do is get me closer to that line where musically and lyrically, because I'm naturally like, throw the augmented 5 in there.
Yeah.
Did you hear that overtone there? No, yeah. Is that a bassoon? And like,
yes, bassoon.
Nobody cares.
I care.
Your audience does care.
I care so much.
And I love
a bassoon.
I understand. You're trying to grow your audience base, but
well, it's not. That's not the purpose.
No, of course,
because I know my strength. Like if my strength in basketball is 3 points from the side, hit me at the side.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to hit the side. But if I want a well-rounded game and I want to make the all-star team, like I got to work on other things. I have to hit it from the top.
Yeah.
I have to have a quick.
Also, you can't be born 7 feet, which is my whole thing. Like there are certain things that you can love. And like, I'm never going to try to be a forward if I'm my height. You also have to kind of like you said, play to your strengths.
You got to play to your strengths, but it's also good, I think, to, but I don't know. Music, I don't think is the same as sports in that regard, right? Because there are obviously Shaquille
Do you want to
O'Neals.
hear Ed Sheeran sing country?
He could do it.
yeah.
He could absolutely do it.
But why?
No, I'm not saying why. But what I'm saying is like those guardrails, we put them up as musicians.
Yeah.
Because we're precious.
Yeah.
And we're like, we feel things. And in reality, they don't actually exist. My neighbor, Suzanne, doesn't give a fuck about anything that we give a fuck about.
Yeah. No, nothing.
Nothing.
And you know what's so funny is that I have this conversation with her.
It happens all the time to me. No, and I've had to get over that. I've had to, because I'm on that tip. I want everything live. I want you to play some fun chords. I want you to do some fun things musically. Do it.
Yeah.
Like hold the tradition.
Right.
But who's it for? Is it me or is it for Suzanne? We just moved house and I met my neighbor, Suzanne. And bless her heart. And I've used her name in like several podcasts, like several times. I went and did a week like guest mentoring at Berkeley, and all the questions were like, well, who do you write for? What's your process? And I used Suzanne's name. Like, but she came over to our house and we met and it's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a singer. And she's like, what? Like,
what do you actually do?
What do you mean? How do you make money?
like in this neighborhood, you know? And I thought, and it hit me in that moment, which is like, okay, Suzanne, I think Suzanne's a nurse or something, but it's like, what song of mine would I play Suzanne right now?
Oh,
not the song that's like, listen to how high my voice goes.
Yeah.
No, like what song
It's going to resonate.
is going to connect with you and your experience in life?
Yeah.
Those are the songs I want to write.
what'd you play
That's
her?
it. I didn't play her song, but I'm just thinking in that moment. No, I didn't play her song. It's not like I have my guitar out in my front lawn. I'm like, well, actually.
Now that you mention it.
But I get caught in the weeds a lot with trying to impress the 1% of musicians because those are my favorites. And I don't know, it's just good to work on your jump shot.
I don't want to impress them. I'm just worried that we're all going to die.
We all are.
No, I mean like, who's going to do it if we don't? You know what I'm saying? Like if we're
If
not,
you don't uphold the standard.
if we're not upholding the standard and we're just letting it slip and we're like, all right, fuck it.
It's
whatever.
already slipped.
But who's going to do it then? Who's going to do it?
y'all.
Somebody's got to do it.
Well, then do it. I mean, that's your journey. That's your
Yeah.
experience. If that's
Again,
what
I'm
you
also
wanna-
privileged, so I'm able to say that. Because I grew up in a world where at the end of the day, no matter what, just being honest, God forbid I call my mom tomorrow, I'm like, lost some of my money, save me.
Yeah.
It would be able to happen. So I have
That's true.
more of that mindset where I'm like, no, somebody has to fucking do it. But then at the same time, my best friend Groovy, who literally has a show tomorrow, who is a foreman and he builds props for movies and he was a single dad and he sacrificed his entire life just so he can play music because that's what he loves.
Mm-hmm.
He will literally be like, I'm not compromising for anybody. And I don't care if I have to be building sets and whatever. I'm going to write the songs I want to write.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
As you should.
But that's why it's like hard.
What I'm saying personally, you asked me about my process.
Right.
Right.
Those are the songs I want to write.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The songs I want to write are for Suzanne. They're no longer for me.
Right.
I don't care about the key change.
You're the vessel.
To the high B
Oh.
so that I can show off to like
you know
the
you're doing it.
0.001% of people who care about it. I want to write songs. I just wrote a song. I think it's my best song I've ever written. A song called Father's Love. It's the same 4 chords. And the melody, I don't sing it. I'm going to play it for you tonight. And you're going to sob. It's the best song I've ever written. And what happened was I got into the writing studio with my friend Billy and I disregarded all of my natural tendencies for the sake of the song.
You stopped fighting.
I stopped. It was like my natural tendency is like, oh yeah, cool. And then let's change it up here and let's do
A reharm here.
Let's reharm here and go to that, and then I'll go, huh? And no,
You wrote for the song.
I sacrificed myself and my ego for the betterment of the song. And I'm telling you, I think it's the best song I've ever written.
Wow.
And so that's just my journey now. That's just my experience and my journey. And
Wow.
I'll never rid myself of like that ego and that. It's not even an ego. It's just like my natural tendencies.
Right.
Right. That's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Well, back to like the whole blood thing and like the genetic thing.
Yeah.
Part of it is genetic. It's like we grew up not putting on Ed Sheeran, right? We're like, my nephew, he's 11 years old and we were just recording an album together for Christmas. And it'd be like 1 a.m. and he'd be like pumping through phrases like, no, I got to do it again. No, that was too much of a run. I need to put more emotion into it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so connected to music.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And that's why I'm like, yeah, it is such a genetic thing because you have to like find yourself, but also understand and accept like what's inside of you and like what made you who you are. I mean, I'm sure your voice or my voice wouldn't sound the way they would, or your violin playing wouldn't be the way that it was if you didn't grow up listening to Bubba Sparks or, Chet Baker or whatever it is we were listening to when we were growing
we're all
up.
informed by our experiences, but I really get what Alan's saying with regard to like, the reality is the average person has no idea what's going on. The reality is the average person has no idea that most of the musicians standing on the Coachella stage are actually lip syncing. They don't know the difference.
Launching.